Hi, I'm Mary Barua and I'm from Action for Autism. We are an organization that works with people with autism. Children with autism as young as 2 years old. We work with adults, we work with adolescents, we work with girls, we work with boys. So we work with the entire spectrum of people with autism. I'm aware that most people don't know what autism is or don't feel that they don't know people who have autism. But you can have people with autism amongst your friends, amongst your relatives and not be aware of it because it is what you call an invisible condition. There are people like Sachin Arora, for instance, who works at IBM. There is Shrikar, who's 10 years old and does not speak at all. There is Suchin, who is working in a sheltered workplace, and he speaks very little, but he does his work well. And you have Stephen Shaw, who's a professor, and he teaches at a university. So you have people with autism who are across the spectrum. People with high abilities, people with average abilities, and people who have lesser abilities. All of them are people with autism. The thing that happens is that in many developed nations, you may have Nobel Prize winners and physicists and professors and entrepreneurs, all of whom are people with autism. It does not happen very much in India because the opportunities are not there. The other thing is that there are occasionally people with autism in India who are also doing interesting things. But because of the huge stigma that is attached to the condition, they cannot come out and tell people, hey, look, I have autism. Though the fact is that these are people who are very proud of their autism, they are not ashamed of their autism at all. But they are aware that if they came out and said, I have autism, they would get stigmatized in their place of work, right? And therefore they are not able to speak about it. When you have autism, sometimes you have what we call in the autism community, we call them stims, right? They're kind of self-stimulatory behaviors. The thing is that for all of us have certain self-stimulatory behaviors. Some of us, we shake our legs while we are sitting, right? Some of us play with our hair while we are sitting. We jiggle our earrings. So we all have various self-stimulatory behaviors. The difference is that for most of us, we have very strong social cognition and we have a strong sense of the social world. And we know how to hide our stims and where to do it and where not to. When I have autism, it's the social aspect that is really affected. So people with autism often have difficulty in controlling these stims. But of course, many of them learn that this is something I will do in private and not in public. On the other hand, those people with autism who have more challenges with social cognition, such as the 10-year-old who's still not speaking, he will need more learning to know that this is something I don't do in public. And also the thing is that some of the stims that they have could be stuff that appears a little odd to people, so they might want to flap around, they might want to bring a bit of hair in front of the eyes and play with it, because they like stims that have to do with a lot of sensory stuff, visual sensory things. A lot of the stims are ways for them to calm themselves when I'm feeling stressed. So for instance, for many of us, and for those of us who are children here, I know we have parents who like to sit in front, splat ourselves in front of the TV screen and watch one of those stupid serials when we are feeling stressed. That is also kind of a stim. For a person with autism, instead of doing that, it might be sitting in a corner with this and doing this as a calming thing. So the thing is that, when we accept differences, just like we accept that somebody who has cerebral palsy may have a movement of the hand, and it is something that we cannot control, and it is okay for them to have it, it is also okay for a person with autism to have a stim, if that is something that is helping them to stay calm and focus on what they have to do. A lot of kids with autism can get included. By and large, people tend to look at those who have more speech. But even those who have more speech often don't get included because teachers do not understand autism, and it's not their fault. It's just that they haven't had the opportunity to learn about autism. I think that I would tell teachers and tell schools also that make the effort to try and learn a little bit, maybe come and attend the workshop that we are doing, because it will, by doing that, you will help a vast number of people with autism. Many of them who are having difficulties in school would do extremely well if you provided them with what we call structure and visual supports. It's a very simple thing to do, but it makes the world predictable to the person with autism, and things that don't seem to bother the non-autistic population could bother the person with autism. And the minute you provide structure and visuals, you make their work predictable and you make it possible for them to succeed in inclusion. And it not just makes the life of the child with autism easier, it makes the life of the teacher easier.
Could you give me an example of this?
Okay, so for instance, in school, what typically happens is, say a teacher suddenly is not coming, right? And you're supposed to have a math class, but then the English teacher comes in, and she probably is taking a math lesson. Now for the non-autistic kid, okay, change, big deal, we deal with it. For the kid with autism, that can be really, really difficult. So for many of them, we do suggest having the day's schedule on the table. And if the teacher is not coming, just have a whiteboard marker with which you cross that out and write next to it, English teacher. Just providing that visual. Or when kids finish their classwork, they finish their work and they wait. They know what to do. They take out something and they do something. Now the kid with autism will finish and now they don't know what to do. Nobody's told them what to do. So they might bother the kids next to them. They don't want to bother them. It's just that they're doing something to keep themselves occupied. Or they'll get up and jump around or run around the class. Give them a card that says, wait, or a card that says, wait till teacher speaks to you, or wait and look at your English textbook. Just that little visual will make all the difference between this kid who's bothering the class and the kid who sits nicely in class. The thing that happens with kids with autism is there's a strong effort to make them normal, right? Now supposing if a child is blind, nobody goes around trying to make them normal and say, oh, you're going to start seeing from, we provided you Braille for 10 years, now you're going to start seeing. But with people with autism, people say that, oh, we've done this for you all this time, now you start behaving normal. You cannot make the person with autism non-autistic, right? And you have to accept the fact that this is the person who has autism. You cannot change the person with autism and force them to become something they are not, because then you're constantly giving them the message that they are something bad and something terrible. And when a person has that kind of message being given to them, they are never going to succeed. We have to accept them for who they are and what they are and help them from that place. And then you will definitely see changes happening.
Thank you.